My name is Linda Tessler. I was one of those children that for some unknown reason, I just didn't learn to read. I was the first child of devoted parents. My mother read to me every night. My father worked his way through college on a GI Bill. Education was important. I was excited about going to school. I wanted to do my homework well and carefully. And despite all those things, I just kept getting placed farther and farther back in the reading groups, and I didn't know why. I wasn't picking up the things that the other students were getting. Fate played a very strange trick on me for my first year, and my first grade teacher's name was Miss Von Zaghetti. Yes, you got it. I couldn't hear the difference between that and spaghetti. And as you're going to find out tonight, that this inability to hear the difference, it's technically we call it phonological awareness, is one of the cornerstones of being dyslexic. Everything was not great, but okay. By the time third grade came around, I remember that they handed me a worksheet as they would do, and I couldn't even read the instructions, let alone to do the work, and I was so frustrated that I took my pencil and I just scraped across it, and I scraped so hard that I ripped the page. And up until that point, I was very well behaved. It was one of my accommodating techniques was to be very good. And I thought, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to me? I have ripped, not if I knocked on the assignment, I've ripped the paper. No one said anything. Then I realized that there was going to be this silent secret that nobody was going to talk about. And at that point, I started to take my feelings, my depressed feelings of inadequacy and feelings of inferiority and frustration, I started to push them down, and I started to develop a bravado, a facade of who I was, hiding my secret. I guess there's a part of me that stands up here tonight. There's a little girl inside that I'm afraid to stand here too long because I don't want you to see that little girl that really wasn't supposed to do much. That little girl that was remediated and nothing really worked. I want to show you my bravado. I don't want to show you that part, but I'm showing you all of it. My grandfather, who was a very wise man, knew something was wrong and said to me, Linda, if you listen in class, you'll know enough to at least pass. And I became living proof to the wisdom of his philosophy. Everything was going kind of okay, but then in middle school, my secret was out. You see, in middle school, we were grouped by ability, and I was in the dumb section. I was in the section with the kids that carried knives, the kids that didn't want to learn. I was so embarrassed and humiliated. I don't think I really looked up through middle school. I was so embarrassed who I was and where I was placed. And my secret wasn't out. Now, will you look at me? Can you imagine me with a bunch of young kids and stuff and just trying to survive? A mismatch, a definite mismatch. Fortunately, high school got all mixed up and I could be in hiding again and put my bravado out until it was time to go to college. And literally every single person I knew was going to college. And then I heard the dreaded words from the guidance counselor. You know, you're really not college material. So, you know, they didn't, what do you do with a nice girl from the suburbs? I certainly didn't spell well enough to be a secretary. I mean, what do you do with her? They sent me to X-ray technology school. I didn't even want to be an X-ray technician. I flunked out in 1 month. You don't do very well in this world if you can't read. But at that point, I had that moment that changed the person's life. We all have them. At that moment, I thought, if my life is going to be a series of failures, okay, so be it. But I'm going to at least fail at trying to do something that I want to do. And I didn't want to be an X-ray technician. school. I went right here to St. Joe's. I took 2 courses. I took psychology. I worked inordinately hard. I aced it, and I took English because I knew if I was going to flunk out of college, that it was going to be on English. And I studied for that English exam. But you can't really study for an English exam. You're supposed to be learning this your whole life. The night of the exam, the whole class is pulled into the classroom, and they're all seated, and the teacher says, Linda, I'd like to speak to you out in the hallway. We walk out, and he looks at me and he said, do they speak a foreign language at home? I lied. I said yes. True. Giving all cards. He gave me a gift of the city, and I went off to college, knowing at least I had freshman English under my belt. And I studied to be a teacher. And I graduated college, and when I went to go for a teaching job, see, I'm still in hiding at this point. I went to go for a teaching job. I knew I could not accept anything over 2nd grade because they would read better than I. So I played a game with my kids, and they loved it. I said, if anybody can find a spelling mistake that Mrs. Tessler makes, you're going to get extra credit. And the whole year, the kids think this is the greatest. So do I. Strangely enough, I was a good teacher. I loved learning. And to keep your teaching credits at that point, you had to go for your master's. And I came right here to Villanova. And I took 6 years to get my master's because I'm probably still reading on about a 3rd grade level. And I got a 4.0, and I was loving it. I loved getting the information in. You are so deprived. If you can't get any of the written language in, you don't know very much. It's hard to say something terribly intelligent when you don't have access to the printed word. I was eating up grammar school. I loved it. I wanted to get my doctorate. Had a 4.0, went and took the graduate record exams. I did horribly. Surprise. But at that point in history, people were starting to talk about dyslexia. Bruce Jenner had been in the meeting, and he had stepped forward, and I thought, gee, maybe that's what could be in. Truthfully, this was the scariest thing. One of the scariest things I ever did in my life was to drive myself, and being a 33-year-old mother of 2, driving myself to a psychologist to be tested, not knowing if he's going to document, you're really not too smart, or what he found out is that I'm severely dyslexic. With that, I then got the graduate record exams read to me, and I scored like a normal doctoral candidate and had no problem getting into my doctoral program. I had a diagnosis. I'm dyslexic. I found the International Dyslexia Association. They had a national conference, and I want you to put this in the back of your minds that in November, the International Dyslexia Conference is going to be right here in Philadelphia, and that you all can attend, and it is such a valuable experience. And if you do come, you're going to see the kind of situation that I walked into. The one I went to was in Washington, and if you come, there's literally there's a couple thousand people there. They are from all over the world, of course, most from this country. And there was this nice lady, and I told her my story that I wanted to know about dyslexia. I had lived this life, but I was just curious, I didn't know anything about it. And she said to me, come here. And I walked over with her, and she walked me over to a table. It's just a lot like this. And on it are what's called the Annals of Dyslexia, the International Dyslexia Association's journals. And she said to me, the whole story's there. I said, oh my gosh, what a thrill to find out what it was that I was experiencing. But then I found out that the annals were not in the tape, and I had no access to finding out what was in those books. Real tears came to my eyes. I didn't let anyone see it. I wiped my eyes, I walked away. And then I had to find recording for blind and dyslexic, which was recording for blind at that point. Yes, it was recording for blind. And found out that they would put my textbooks on tape. You need to know that the International Dyslexia Association is a group of people that are dedicated to the education and research for dyslexia, and that's one of the sponsors. You also need to know that Recording for Blind Dyslexic is another nonprofit that takes and puts textbooks on tape. Thousands of volunteers in 31 studios all over this country go and read textbooks and put them on tape. So that we now have almost 100,000 of this country's textbooks on tape. My doctorate would not have been possible without Recording for Blind Dyslexic. And don't misunderstand me. Books on tape do not make it easy. It is hard. It takes you longer to listen to a book. It's a skill. You need to develop the skill. But books on tape make it possible. When I realized that I had done this, I knew I wasn't the only one. If I had done this, there had to be other people out there that had my experience and had somehow succeeded anyway. My doctorate was then with famous and prominent people who had overcome learning disabilities. I interviewed Arthur Ox Sulzberger, publisher of the New York Times. He's dyslexic. Unbelievable. Harvey Firestein, award-winning playwright, dyslexic. Then I was doing the interviews, and they started talking about the gift of dyslexia. What do you mean a gift? And Bruce Jenner talked about how dyslexia taught him to be persevering. Senator Mike Gravel told me dyslexia taught him to be an excellent problem solver. A man named Richard White, who is actually renowned in psychiatry for making major breakthroughs, he said, no, I was able to make these contributions because of my dyslexia. He said, it's kind of like I have three-dimensional vision. It's like I can see around the corner. He says, all my colleagues, they're all trying to solve the problem the same way. He says, but I go about it a different way, and I make great breakthroughs. You see, I told you a story that has happened hundreds of thousands of times. I'm not special. My story's not special. I'm here to give back so that you know, and the thing you're going to hear me say through this evening is, you don't have to be disabled by this learning difference. There are options. I've spoken to you as a mentor. I'm now going to speak to you as Dr. Tessler. I did finish my doctorate. I'm a licensed psychologist, and guess what? I specialize in learning disabilities, right? Sure. I'm your first speaker, and I'm going to tell you about what is dyslexia. No matter who you are in the audience, my guess is you only have a vague idea of what this thing is. Because we've been confused, even the professionals haven't known what dyslexia is for a long time. The research is new, it's wonderful, it's very important, and it's very exciting. Let me take you step by step. Okay, let's begin at the beginning. 100 years ago, two medical doctors in England observed this syndrome, and they reported it. Because they were medical doctors, it got the name dyslexia, which is from Latin, and it describes symptomatology. Its literal translation is word blindness. And what it's come to mean is simply difficulty processing language, which is reading, writing, and spelling, and sometimes speaking. And then you're hearing all these other terms. You're hearing learning disability, dysgraphia, dyscalculia. What do all these mean? Well, we're only going to talk about dyslexia this evening, but what you need to know is it fits under the umbrella of learning disabilities. Okay? What's a learning disability? A learning disability is simply someone who has problems learning despite the fact they have adequate eyesight, they have adequate hearing, and they have adequate intelligence. But for some reason, they don't learn the way the other children do. What makes the dyslexic brain different than other brains? In 1990, the MRI was invented so that we could give a subject a book and let them read the book and give them an MRI at the same time, and we could see which parts of their brain they're accessing. And my goodness, it was different. The normal response, the normal brain, it happens in the left hemisphere, and you have, these are steps, so 1, 2, 3 are steps. And a normal, efficient reader, you really should say efficient reader, I like that much better. An efficient reader reads from the front of their brain towards the back. The dyslexic brains wire differently. When we studied people that had trouble with reading, what we saw was their brain wiring is they read from back to front. It's not as efficient a way. This is different brain wiring, and because the dyslexic response is not as efficient, we observe in these brains, with these MRIs, that the right hemisphere starts getting involved. Now you see how complicated that looks. The dyslexic response, it looks harder, and it is, than the normal response. To understand the evolution of the human brain will help you understand what we're talking about tonight. This is a general sketch of the brain. I put in certain areas. The speech area is in there. The only thing you need to know from this picture by looking at it is you need to notice that there is no area that has been developed for reading. Think about this. 20% of our population has trouble learning to read. Estimates vary. Say between 5 and 15% are dyslexic. How does such a big part of our population have this problem? I mean, we all studied Darwinian theory, natural selection. How did this happen? But it makes sense if you look at it in terms of the history of mankind. Man has been on this earth for about 2 million years. 2 million. People have been reading and writing basically since the printing press came out. That's been the past 500 years. To understand this, if you think of the human experience as being, the 2 million years being a whole day, 24 hours, morning to night and again, written history, man's been writing for about 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds. The brain has not developed an area for reading. A human being will speak even if they're not taught. A human being will not read unless they are taught. There is no part that is developed. So now, when someone says that dyslexia is brain wiring, I hope that maybe one of these pictures comes in your mind, that phrase you're always hearing about dyslexia, brain wiring, what does it mean? That you get a picture that it's really wiring. It's the metaphor is kind of like if you wanted to go from here into Philadelphia, most of you would take the expressway, right? But you could take the back road, you still get there. It's kind of like a dyslexic and an efficient reader takes the expressway. It's wiring. Now you've got to give me some poetic license here. I am describing to you the human brain. It is the most complex organism on this earth. So of course it's not that simple. But for us to understand, I think the point comes alive. We're talking about brain wiring, and the other thing we're talking about is any part of the brain that is being used for reading is really moonlighting. It was designed for something slightly different. So either of these, any of these pathways, those parts are really moonlighting for some other activity that they were really much better designed for. Another thing that you hear, and you might not understand it fully, I want you to understand, is that we all talk about early diagnosis. What's the importance of it? Early diagnosis is ideal because what we know is that if we give children, there's been studies, and there's one book that a lot of people refer to, because if you do want to read one book on dyslexia, it would be wonderful to read Overcoming Dyslexia by Dr. Sally Shaywitz. And the study I'm telling you is reported in that. They took little children, kindergarten, first graders, and did MRIs on them, and saw which children brain had ran a passage the way dyslexic does. And they gave them very specific kinds of remediation. They taught them read without leaving anything to chance. And then they did an MRI on these children a year or two later, and what they found was that the children, the dyslexic children, their MRIs were starting to look like children who hadn't had any reading process. What I'm saying is with the right kind of instruction, we can possibly rewire the brain to some extent. I mean, this is huge. What an incredible impact that we know. There's a plasticity, and the plasticity just means a pliability of the brain that children have, that adults don't have. But the thing is, for all of you, for me, for anyone you're here to understand about dyslexia for, you're past the point to understand this. Yes, for your children, your grandchildren, this is invaluable information. The truth is that most kids get diagnosed by about between 11 and 17. And truthfully, the brighter kids get diagnosed later, no matter how loving and caring the parents are, no matter how good the school system is. And this is already after the kids have had problems with learning. This is after that wonderful time of plasticity of the brain is gone. So we can help them now. This is enormous. And what about the rest of us? What about all of us, or your students, whoever you're here for? There are choices. And that is also what this symposium is about. That you really have choices, and you, even if you were not remediated to end up with this nice wiring in your brain, this seminar will also present you choices of how to accommodate for dyslexia. You see, another word you're hearing a lot is about perceptual differences. You're hearing the dyslexia is brain wiring. Okay, now I hope you know you've got brain wiring. It has a picture for you. Well, it's also having perceptual differences. What's that? I'm going to tell you. First of all, the perceptual differences really have certain perceptual advantages. Dyslexics think out of the box. They learn in non-conventional ways, which makes them very innovative. They definitely tend to have strengths in reasoning, problem solving, concept formation, critical thinking, and in spatial relationships. You've all heard about the famous dyslexics. Walt Disney, Albert Einstein, Thomas Edison, Leonardo da Vinci, Winston Churchill. They used their strengths and accommodated for what they couldn't do. They used their strengths, they got somebody else to help them with what they couldn't do. And the truth is that dyslexics are overrepresented in our population of artists, scientists, and business executives. We are also overrepresented in the penal and the prison population. We are also represented in the population that attempts suicide and is successful in suicide. We are also overrepresented in the population of people who drop out of school. All of the above is true. What's dyslexia now? I want to break some myths for you too, since my job is to define dyslexia. It's not letter reversals. It's not mirror writing. All children go through a developmental stage where they reverse. Not all, most children do. When they're learning to write letters and stuff, they're going to reverse. Yes, it is true that dyslexics tend to reverse for a longer period of time and more often, but it's not a cornerstone to what dyslexia is. More boys are not affected than girls. The boys act out, they get identified. You cannot outgrow it. This is your wiring. And obviously, I hope that everyone here at least knows that it's certainly not indicative of laziness or low intelligence. Okay. Perceptual difference. This is what it is. It's two things. It's phonological awareness, which is a big word, and I'll explain to you, and it's rapid naming. Phonological awareness is the story I told you about Miss Von Spaghetti. And it's really sounds like spaghetti. A dyslexic really can't hear the difference. We're notorious in foreign languages. And the teacher says the Spanish word or the French word, and we really can't hear to reproduce it. We can't hear it. The vowels all sound alike to us. Phonological awareness. Cat, act. We can't hear those sounds. It's harder for us. The other one is rapid naming. What we know is that in dyslexics, what becomes automatic for most people doesn't become automatic for us. So if you think about it, when you read a sentence, it really is rapid naming. See, spot, run. Rapid naming. If you're sounding out a word, you're sounding the letters, it's rapid naming. All my friends know that I probably won't remember the restaurant I went to last night, and if I do remember it, I'm probably not going to pronounce it right. Okay? Phonological awareness, rapid naming. These two are the cornerstones, the two conceptual pieces that limit us. I'm coming to the end. I need to give you official definitions, and in your handout, on the gray tinted paper, you don't need to refer to them, put them in there, are the official definitions. I didn't want to stand up here and regurgitate official definitions and characteristics. I thought it'd be just as easy to read it, and I wanted you to have that information. What's the future for dyslexia? Obviously, it's bright. It's very bright. I mean, there's so much technology just where things are being read to us. Certainly that helps immensely. The other thing is that we're understanding that with specific kind of instruction, we can modify the wiring of people's brains, which is fabulous. And the third part is that all of education is going to be better because of our study of dyslexia. Everybody who is in this room has different kind of brain wiring. It's part of what makes us individuals. In the future, we're going to be able to analyze children, how their brain functions, and teach them on their strengths. You see, when I was in school and I had all that remediation, the philosophy then was, well, you have to improve what you can't do. And it just wasn't going to come through. So now we will be able to analyze people's brains and use their strengths. And now at the end, I hope that the words around dyslexia mean a lot more to you. When someone says brain wiring, you understand what that means. When they say it's a perceptual difference, that comes alive also. You have options.